Alright, this is my video summary for the documentary Fabric of the Cosmos, Universe or Multiverse. So getting right into it, the universe was defined as every known thing. And then a multiverse is just multiplying universes. So it's kind of the theory that the universe that we have isn't the only thing that exists. We just don't know about the other ones yet, which is why it's just like multiplying universes. So it's every known thing, but then there's all the things that we don't know that could just be like scattered throughout. So it's here, 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 all over the place. And how a lot of people like to justify it is through evolving thoughts. So we used to think that the Earth was the center of the universe. Then we thought that the sun was the center. Then we thought that our galaxy was the center, only to find out that our galaxy is a very small one on the very outskirts of the known universe, right? So where the idea of multiverses came from, though, was a man by the name of Guth, and he was studying the Big Bang. What he did, he realized that the Big Bang doesn't explain why it exploded. It just says that it did, right? So he went about and he was studying to know more about how particles formed from the Big Bang. And he came across this idea that he called inverted gravity. And basically what it was that space was continuing to expand, and it was expanding in a way that they didn't kind of expect. So he came up with this idea of inflation, which is where there's still energy from the Big Bang that's being spread across the universe. And the example he uses is cosmic radiation. So with inflation, it was actually proved because they tested space. And so what cosmic radiation is, it's the heat from the Big Bang that's being spread across the entire sky. And so when they tested out in space, they found that there was in fact radiation left over from the Big Bang. So the question then becomes, well, what's going to happen when the Big Bang finally reaches its limit, right? And all of that cosmic radiation has just gone. It's going to end, right? But then the thought is it's not just going to all end at the same time, because if there's an epicenter and it goes out, it'll stop here before it's going to stop here, right? Which then leads to the idea that it has stopped in some areas, it's going to continue in others, and it hasn't even happened in some. It hasn't gotten to that point yet. And so because of that, they came to the conclusion that the Big Bang wasn't a unique event and that they're happening all over the place. And the reason for this is because space is just full of undischarged energy. And it's just waiting to expand. And that brings us to the next point of how space is expanding. Astronomers have found that the universe is in fact speeding up, and we are moving further and further away from other galaxies. At the same time, space is spreading apart, so not only is our universe getting bigger, but the space between them is getting larger as well. And because of that, that means that light can't travel back and forth between it, so we can't actually observe the change, which is why a lot of people question the multiverse, because you can't observe it. So they say that it can't be true because you can't observe it. But that leads us to multiverse evidence. So there's three different things. So there's inflation, astronomy, and quantum mechanics. So with astronomy, they found this thing called dark energy. And it's the energy that's in space that they don't know what it's doing. That all they know is that it's there and that it's moving things apart. They were predicting that it was going to be a very large number. They actually found that it was 0.1 times 10 to the negative 122. So it's completely opposite from what they thought. And so it begs the question, if they were expecting it to be this huge number, and it's this small number which is what allows us to exist, then that means that there could be other universes that the number is a lot bigger and it doesn't allow for life. Now with quantum mechanics, they talk about strings and string theory and how every vibration has a different property. And there's actually 10 to the 500th possibilities for these strings. Each one is then a multiverse. So for multiverses, it's inflation plus astronomy plus quantum mechanics. That leads to the idea that, hey, this could be a real thing. We don't know yet, right? And so there has to be some validity to it because there are three different things that are pointing in that direction. With that being said, what are the possibilities of a multiverse? And the common consensus is that there are exact duplicates of us out there, just with slight differences. Because even though that's a very large number, and that's a very small number, when you combine them an infinite number of times, you're bound to get repeats. And so, yeah, that's kind of how the duplicates come about, is that it's inevitable. The debate here, though, is that a lot of people think that this is a cop-out of someone trying to explain what we don't know with something that they just believe. Because we can't observe it, they can't prove it, and science is all about evidence, not belief. A lot of scientists said, give it 100 years and maybe we'll be able to prove it. So, I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe in 100 years they'll be able to prove if it's real or if it's not.